All of these joins in front of me look really good, but some of them will blow themselves apart and some of them will be fine. And I'm going to show you why. I've walked through a classroom of really talented woodworking students who are working really carefully on joinery, designing pieces, making boxes, etc. And their work is good, the joins are clean, the designs are nice. However, I can look at them and know that they're going to fail. And the reason I know they're going to fail is because the student hasn't thought about grain direction. What that means is that even though the joint looks tight, over time, the timber will expand and contract in a way which will blow the joint apart. And I know this because I've done it myself. Every woodworker has. It's part of the learning process. I'm going to simplify it today. I'm going to explain how to make timber work for you, how to allow for that movement, and what to do when you can't allow for it. To understand why timber expands and contracts, you need to understand a little bit about what timber actually is. Under a microscope, timber actually looks almost like a stack of straws. Now, if we look at this piece, what that would look like is the ends of the straws would be on this end, and long ways, the straws would be going down there. And what that means is as the moisture changes inside those straws, they swell slightly or they can shrink as they dry. But they don't tend to stretch or swell along the length. What that means for this square of timber, which is 170 by 170, is that if this gets moist, if the humidity increases, this board might actually end up being 175 millimeters wide, but it will probably remain around 170 millimeters long. When we are joining timber together, we need to be aware that it expands more in one direction than the other. Let's briefly compare solid timber with a piece of plywood that's the same size. Now, plywood looks like it has grain. It has timber on both surfaces, and that surface veneer has grain. However, that plywood sandwich, because it has layers of grain running in opposite directions, mean that this piece of timber will now expand and contract equally the whole way around. And it will expand and contract much less than solid timber will across the grain. This means it's more stable and it can be used in ways that solid timber can't because the expansion and contraction is not as much of an issue. If you need to join plywood to solid timber and you want to glue it together, you can do it along the long grain of the solid timber. It doesn't matter which direction the plywood grain is going because the grain doesn't really matter in plywood. However, if you rotate the solid piece so that you're trying to join ply, which doesn't really move, to the short grain of real timber here, the real timber will not be able to expand and contract. It's exactly the same problem as we had with solid timber running in opposite directions. So, just because you introduce ply into a piece of joinery doesn't mean that you can stop worrying about expansion and contraction. If you're joining anything onto the short grain of solid timber, you still need to worry about where that timber is going to expand and contract, and will it hurt the join. Before we look at the boxes, I'm going to look at some simple butt joints to help you understand what grain direction is and why it matters. If we have these two pieces of timber here, the grain is running the same direction. This is solid timber, not ply, and the grain is running from left to right. If we did a simple butt joint like that, the grain is still running the same direction. Even though we have a 90-degree turn, the direction that this timber wants to expand is the same on both pieces, which means when this piece expands and contracts, this piece is going to expand and contract at the same rate. So a butt joint will hold together, assuming the joint is strong, and it won't be blown apart by expansion and contraction. If we rotate one of these pieces so that we have left to right grain here and up and down grain here, when we try and make a butt joint with these two pieces, we have the timber expanding in different directions. This piece here will want to expand up and down. This piece here will want to expand left to right. And what that means is that even if you've made a good strong join, eventually the timber will split or the join will break. Let's look at a slightly more complicated join, which is a sliding dovetail join. And the reason I'm talking about this is about a year ago, I made a little cabinet, well, it was a little mud kitchen that lives outside and it used sliding dovetail joints. And people in the comments were very keen to tell me that the thing was going to explode, but they didn't seem to look at the direction that the timber was going. We have a slot here and we have the dovetail component here. And we can slide them together. Now you'll notice the grain runs in the same direction. Along here, it's running that way. That's where the stack of straws are. And on here, it's also running that way. So as this timber expands, it's going to expand in that direction. And in this timber expands, it's going to expand in that direction also. Which means that even if I glue this sliding dovetail connection together, this whole piece is going to expand and contract at the same time, and it will not put any stress on that joint. Exactly the same thing would apply if you made a sliding dovetail with the timber running in the opposite direction. As long as both pieces are the same direction as each other. Now, if I mix these up and I have one piece where the timber wants to expand this way and one piece where the timber wants to expand this way, this is when the join will fail. If this piece of timber expands, it will force out of the end here, which if it's only glued in the center will be totally fine. If it's glued the whole way, it's going to put a whole bunch of stress on that glue joint and it will probably break the glue joint. What's more likely to happen is if this timber contracts, if it shrinks and that whole glue line is joined, we're going to get a crack through the center of this timber because that shrinking has to go somewhere. So you could run sliding dovetails in either direction as long as the two pieces of timber are running the same direction as each other. Let's have a look at some box arrangements. Now, this obviously is a small tray, but the theory is exactly the same for a large cabinet. We have the box sides made from mited solid timber. So, expansion and contraction will happen in this direction, but it's not going to happen much along the length. This means that the size of this box will not change that much. In the bottom here, we have a solid piece of timber. Now that's inserted into a rebate, which I will show you. However, if you look closely, you'll see there is no gap. It looks really flush. There is no room for this piece of timber to expand and contract. What that means over time is that this miter join here, or one of the miter joins, will expand. It is going to expand because this timber here is going to expand this way, and that will force this miter join out. Years ago, I made a lovely little box for my partner for her birthday. I was very proud of how smooth and flush and seamless these joins looked because there was no gaps, and the join broke. So this is what you need to be aware of. If you want a perfectly smooth, flush join with no gap or no shadow line, instead of using solid timber in the base, you need to use plywood. You can place plywood inside a timber box like this as a base because it is up against long grain the whole way around. There's no place where it is fighting timber on the short grain. So if you want to make a box that will not explode, there are 3 ways to do it. Use plywood on the bottom instead of solid timber. The second way, use a timber panel that has room to move. Now this one is sitting in a slot, so it's inset, but this panel wiggles. It has room to expand and contract. It can move in all directions. It's not glued in at all. The disadvantage to that is it's not providing any strength to the structure of this box at all, really. It's designed to float. And most small boxes are made this way. You can also make cabinets like this with a completely floating back. This thin panel could be tongue and groove. It could be shiplap. It doesn't need to be a solid panel, or it could be a floating plywood panel. If this was a floating plywood panel, you can glue it in and it will add strength to the box. If you want a panel in the bottom here, which looks nice and flush, we can place a timber panel in there, but it needs to be smaller than the size of the box here. So I'm going to pull this apart, I'll put this in, and I'll show you what that little shadow line can look like. Okay, so this rebated bottom is solid timber, and you can see it has a shadow line on two sides. Now, that doesn't look great. That shadow line needs to be even. So we can use some little spacers to make sure it's even. These are little pieces of 1mm veneer that I had. You can use a tiny wedge to move this base around and then put spacers on all four sides to get them into the right position. Now, to make sure that this shadow line stays even after the box has been glued together, you can actually put some glue in there, but you have to be careful about where you're placing it so that it still allows that expansion and contraction to occur. If you're making a box like this and you want to keep that shadow line even, you will need to place some glue in the base, but we need to make sure that the base can still move. This base is expanding and contracting that way, so we want no glue on these long edges because that will prevent this timber shrinking and then swelling back into the space internally. We can put a bit of glue on these short edges, however, we don't want it anywhere near the sides. So on the tongue that goes into the groove, on the inside of here, we could put a little bit of glue here and there. A little bit of glue in both of those positions with the base held in with spacers while the whole box dries will mean that that shadow line stays really even and the joinery will not fail. It will not be blown apart by expanding and contracting timber. Sometimes with floating panels like this, rather than gluing the base in, people will use something a little bit squishy, like a little piece of foam on all four sides inside that slot to keep the panel centered. I've done this with larger Raylan style frames to keep a panel centered, but this glue technique can also work. Okay, one more note about the interaction between plywood and solid timber. It is very common to make cases for cabinets out of plywood or MDF. Now, that could still be fine furniture. You could have really nice veneers over MDF or plywood. It means the cabinets are really stable. In general, they're cheaper to build potentially than solid timber cases, and often it's just the right material choice. However, we often want a solid timber piece on top of that cabinet. Think of like a bathroom vanity, for instance. You still want a solid timber top, but the case is made from plywood. You still need to be aware that that solid timber top will need to expand and contract. Now, if we imagine that this is our bathroom vanity, we have a solid timber top on top of a plywood case. This piece of timber is not going to expand much in its length, but it will expand this way from front to back. So when you screw from underneath the plywood case or the MDF case into the solid timber top, you need to make sure that the screw holes in the plywood are elongated to allow the timber on the top to expand and contract and take those screws with them by a millimeter or so and not just split the timber. If you look underneath really well designed pieces of furniture, you'll see that there is always a way for those fixings to move. Just to bring this into the real world, we'll have a quick look at this cabinet, which is being delivered very soon. It's hopefully the last video it appears in. But I can show you where I've allowed for expansion and contraction in this piece, which is entirely made out of solid timber with no plywood. We have a solid top and a solid bottom that needs to expand and contract from front to back. Now that solid top and bottom is attached to this curved rail here, which is also, it's curved laminated timber, but the important thing is the grain direction is running in the opposite direction from the top. That happens here, and it also happens on the bottom here. If we look underneath, you will see that those screws are not in countersunk holes, but they are in countersunk slots. And that allows for the bottom plate, and the same thing happens with the top plate, to expand and contract independently from the rail and style cabinet sides. Similarly, the reason these side panels are rail and style is because if I had made that whole thing like a barrel with vertical staves that were not floating in horizontal rails, that entire side would need to expand and contract. And that would just be really difficult to allow that movement to happen because it would actually be in two directions around the curve. And the first design for this cabinet had barrel made ends, coopered ends, but the expansion and contraction issues were so complicated that I ended up using this design instead, and I'm really happy I did. I think it looks great. But these staves inside the rail and style end panels are loose. They can actually move back and forth slightly as they expand and contract. And in the slot at the end here, there is a tiny bead of foam which allows all of those thin staves to expand and compress that foam, or to relax, and that foam will take up the slack so that they'll never rattle. This internal shelf in here is solid timber. It's thin, it's about 12 mil thick, but it still needs to expand and contract. So it is screwed at the front here with a regular countersunk hole, not a slot. But at the back, this panel actually slides in and out of a housing, which means it's really only attached in one place, and it allows that expansion to go somewhere. If I had screwed it at the front and the back, inevitably this panel would just split at some point. Okay, last thing. When you have a join where long grain connects to short grain, as in frame components here or leg components, you inevitably have a join which is going to have tension in it. However, the smaller those sections of timber, the less stress that they will have. So you can see here I've got long grain running into short grain, but I haven't had to allow for any movement because it's only about 40 mil thick. So whenever you have a join like that you might have in a chair or even a dining table frame, you don't necessarily need to allow for movement in pieces that are less than, say, 80 mil thick. That kind of movement can generally be absorbed by a little bit of flexibility in the glue without splitting the timber. But when you go any thicker than that, any kind of box work, that's when you need to start worrying about expansion and contraction as you're designing the piece. So I hope that clarified some of the aspects of expansion and contraction. I know it seems complicated, but if you just look at timber and use it, you will get the hang of it, and you're gonna make mistakes and things will break, and that's okay, and you're gonna learn as you do it. But if you can think about it and you could plan it as you're designing pieces, you will get a better result and pieces that will last a really long time. Thanks for watching. There'll be some links down below to products I've used. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel, and if you want me to make you a wonderful cabinet that won't explode in time, then let me know. You can find my work at my website at Douglas Fir Design. Until next week, keep making stuff. Thanks for spending time with me.